Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be looking at Park Kreativny Spolok,
Okay.
which,
It's
for those of us who don't speak Slovakian,
right.
translates to the Park Creative Association.
Right.
We've got their website, some
Hmm.
project descriptions,
Yeah.
and a few articles about all the work that they're doing.
Right.
So what do you think is like the most interesting thing about this organization?
What's really fascinating about PART is that their work is so diverse.
Okay.
I mean, they're involved in everything from promoting Slovakian arts and culture
Mm-hmm.
to supporting social inclusion.
Oh, wow.
They even use cutting-edge technology to preserve historical heritage.
It's like they've got their finger in every pie.
Yeah.
I'm particularly intrigued by something they call 360-degree digitalization.
Okay.
What exactly does that mean?
It's basically a way of digitally archiving endangered historical sites.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine putting on a VR headset and finding yourself transported to a medieval Slovakian village.
Wow.
You can walk down the cobblestone streets,
Wow.
hear the blacksmith hammering in his forge,
That's incredible.
and even see the intricate carvings on the wooden houses.
It's like stepping back in time.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's just one example of how PART is using technology to preserve and share Slovakia's cultural heritage.
So they're not just about preserving the past,
Right.
but they're also finding innovative ways to make it accessible to people today.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And speaking of accessibility,
Yeah.
PART is deeply committed to inclusion,
Mm-hmm.
particularly for people with disabilities.
Can you give us an example of how they're putting that commitment into practice?
Well, let's say you're someone who uses a wheelchair
Okay.
and you want to visit a historic Slovakian castle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, many of these castles are located on hilltops,
Right.
have lots of stairs,
Sure.
making them inaccessible for people with mobility issues.
Right.
PART recognized this challenge,
Yeah.
and they created a solution.
Okay.
They created a virtual tour of Cactus Castle,
Wow.
complete with 3D models and audio descriptions.
Oh,
Now, anyone can explore this fascinating castle from their computer or phone,
that's amazing.
regardless of their physical abilities.
That's a fantastic example of how technology can be used to break down barriers
Yeah.
and make cultural heritage accessible to everyone.
And it aligns perfectly with their mission statement,
Okay.
which emphasizes the importance of benefiting society through education, culture,
Okay.
local sports,
Mm-hmm.
and even environmental protection.
So it seems like they're really focused on fostering a sense of community well-being.
They are.
They even mentioned working with disadvantaged children specifically.
Yes. They're particularly committed to providing underprivileged children with access to cultural and sporting opportunities.
That's so important. I mean, these kinds of experiences can have a huge impact on a child's development.
Absolutely.
Oh.
It helps them to connect with their community,
Mm-hmm.
develop new skills,
Yeah.
and broaden their horizons.
PART seems to understand that cultural heritage is more than just about preserving old buildings or artifacts.
Right.
It's about keeping traditions alive and fostering a sense of belonging.
Exactly.
And they're using a fascinating blend of traditional and modern approaches to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
So on one hand, they're deeply committed to preserving traditional Slovakian cultural heritage,
Right.
things like dance song music and poetry.
Uh-huh.
But on the other hand, they're embracing cutting-edge technology like 3D digitalization
Yeah.
to create immersive experiences that bring the past to life.
It's a really interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to combine the old with the new to create something truly unique and engaging.
And it's not just about visuals. They're also doing some really interesting work with sound.
Oh, okay.
They mentioned something called event sound design.
Okay.
What exactly is that?
Well, it involves creating and managing sound for various community events.
Mm-hmm.
They might use historical recordings,
Okay.
traditional music,
Okay.
or even specially composed soundscapes to enhance the atmosphere and tell a story.
So they're not just preserving historical sound recordings,
Right.
but they're actively using sound to create immersive experiences.
Exactly.
Okay.
They might create a soundscape for a historical reenactment,
Mhm.
or they might use sound to guide visitors through a museum exhibit.
Okay.
It adds a whole other dimension to the experience.
I can imagine how powerful that would be.
Yeah.
It's like you're not just seeing the past, but you're hearing it too.
It's about engaging multiple senses to create a truly immersive experience.
So we've got this organization doing all these amazing things,
Hmm.
but how do they fund it all?
PART relies heavily on a combination of partnerships and donations to keep their projects afloat.
What kind of partnerships are we talking about?
They mention seeking out partnerships that provide long-term support for their projects.
Okay.
offer benefits to both part and their partners.
Hmm.
And most interestingly, those that benefit their partners' customers too.
So it sounds like they're looking for collaborations that benefit everyone involved.
Yeah,
That's a really smart approach.
it is. And it seems to be working for them. I mean, they've managed to accomplish quite a lot with a relatively small team and limited resources.
But partnerships can only take you so far.
Right.
They must also rely on donations from individuals and organizations who believe in their mission.
Absolutely. Public support is crucial for nonprofit organizations like PART.
Right.
Every donation, no matter how small, helps them to continue their work and make a difference in their community.
Now that we have a better understanding of how PART operates and what their goals are, I'm curious to learn more about some of their specific projects.
Okay.
Where should we dive in next?
Let's take a closer look at their work with 3D digitalization.
Okay.
It's a really fascinating area where they're pushing the boundaries of what's possible in terms of cultural heritage preservation.
That sounds great. I'm ready to go deeper into the digital world of PART.
Yeah. Welcome back to our deep dive into PART Creativity Spolak. Last time we talked about their innovative use of technology,
Right.
particularly their 360-degree digitalization projects.
Mm-hmm.
So are you ready to see how they're bringing the past to life in the digital world?
Absolutely. I'm really curious to hear more about these 3D reconstructions.
Right.
What kind of sites are they focusing on?
They're targeting a variety of sites,
Mm-hmm.
from medieval castles
Okay.
to ancient settlements.
Okay.
One project that caught my eye
Yeah.
was their digital reconstruction of the Church of St. George in Kastaranipad, Tribecham.
Okay, tell me more about this church.
Sure.
What makes it so special?
Well, it's a Romanesque church
Right.
that dates back to the 12th century.
Wow.
It's known for its beautiful frescoes,
Okay.
which depict scenes from the Bible.
So how did PART use 3D technology to preserve this historic church?
They used a combination of 3D scanning
Okay.
and photogrammetry
Okay.
to create a highly detailed digital model of the church,
Mm-hmm.
inside and out.
Okay.
This model captures every nook and cranny, every architectural detail,
Yeah.
even the texture of the stone walls.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
But it's just a visual model, right?
Uh,
What about the frescoes?
that's where it's really interesting.
Okay.
They also use high-resolution photography to capture the frescoes in incredible detail.
Okay.
These images were then integrated into the 3D model, so you can zoom in
Okay.
and see the brush strokes
Wow.
and the vibrant colors,
Yeah.
as if you were standing right in front of them.
So it's not just a 3D model of the building,
Right.
but it's a complete digital replica of the church, including its artwork.
Exactly. And they didn't stop there.
Okay.
They also incorporated historical research
Okay.
and expert commentary
Okay.
to create a truly immersive and educational experience.
What do you mean by that?
Well, as you explore the virtual church,
Okay.
you can click on different points of interest to learn more about its history,
Okay.
architecture,
Hmm.
and the significance of the frescoes. It's like having a personal tour guide right there with you.
That's amazing. It sounds like a fantastic resource for students, researchers,
Yeah.
and anyone interested in Slovakian history and art.
It is, and it has the potential to reach a global audience,
Right.
which is really exciting.
Yeah.
Imagine someone in, say, Australia being able to virtually visit this church and learn about Slovakian culture without ever leaving their home.
It really highlights the power of technology to connect people across borders and cultures.
Yeah.
Now, we've been focusing on PART's visual projects, but they're also doing some fascinating things with sound, right?
Right. We briefly touched on their event sound design work earlier.
Yeah.
It's another great example of how they're blending traditional and modern approaches.
Can you elaborate on what event sound design actually involves?
Essentially, they provide sound support
Mm-hmm.
for a wide range of community events, from festivals and historical reenactments to educational workshops and cultural performances.
What kind of sound do they incorporate into these events?
It depends on the event,
Okay.
but they might use recordings of traditional Slovakian music,
Okay.
folk tales,
Yeah.
or even the sounds of nature to create an immersive atmosphere.
So it's not just about playing background music. It's
Yeah.
about using sound to enhance the storytelling
Yeah.
and create a more engaging experience. for
Exactly.
parents.
Imagine attending a historical reenactment of a medieval battle.
Okay.
Instead of just watching actors clash swords,
Right.
you hear the clang of metal,
Wow.
the shouts of the soldiers,
Yeah.
the thunder of hooves, even the screams of the wounded.
Oh, wow.
Suddenly you're transported back in time.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're creating a multi-sensory experience that really brings history to life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Okay.
Whether it's 3D digitalization or event sound design, PART seems to be really good at finding creative ways to tell stories and engage their audience.
You're absolutely right, and that storytelling focus is evident in another aspect of their work.
Okay.
Prerozpravný príbehov,
Okay.
which means retelling stories.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
What kinds of stories are they retelling?
They work with a variety of narratives,
Okay.
from ancient myths and legends to personal accounts of life in Slovakia throughout history.
Right.
They might collect oral histories from elders,
Okay.
transcribe old manuscripts,
Mm-hmm.
or research historical events to find compelling stories to share.
It sounds like they're casting a wide net, gathering stories from all corners of Slovakian culture.
Yeah.
But how do they actually retell these stories? Do
Wow.
they just publish them in books?
They use a variety of methods,
Okay.
including creating audio recordings,
Mm-hmm.
publishing written narratives,
Okay.
incorporating stories into their digital reconstructions,
Right.
and even using them as inspiration for their event sound designs.
So they're weaving these stories into the fabric of their work, making them an integral part of their mission to preserve and share Slovakian heritage.
Exactly. And they recognize that stories are not just about the past.
Mm-hmm.
They're about connecting with our roots, understanding who we are, and building a sense of community.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about making history relevant to our lives today and inspiring future generations.
Yeah.
Now, PART is doing all this incredible work,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm curious to know if they face any challenges in pursuing their mission.
Well, like any nonprofit organization, they face the ongoing challenge of securing funding.
Okay.
Relying on donations and grants can be uncertain,
Yeah.
and they're competing with many other worthy causes for limited resources.
That's a valid point, and they're operating in Slovakia,
Right,
which they have a less developed philanthropic culture compared to some other European countries.
right. Economic conditions,
Mm.
government, policies, and societal attitudes towards charitable giving can all influence the amount of funding they're able to secure.
And even with sufficient funding, they might face challenges in attracting and retaining qualified staff.
That's true, especially for their more specialized areas of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Finding people with the right technical skills
Yeah.
in 3D modeling,
Right.
sound design, or digital archiving,
Right.
who are also passionate about cultural heritage, could be a challenge.
And let's not forget the ever-evolving technological landscape.
Yeah?
They need to stay up to date with the latest advancements in digital technology to remain competitive and effective.
Absolutely. They need to continually invest in training equipment upgrades and software updates to ensure their work is of the highest quality.
It sounds like they need to be adaptable and resourceful to overcome these challenges.
They do,
Uh,
but their passion, creativity, and commitment to their mission seem to be driving forces that help them overcome these obstacles.
And their success speaks for itself.
Mm.
They're doing incredible work that is impacting their community and beyond.
And we've talked about some of the technical and financial challenges they face,
Mhm.
but there's another potential hurdle that's worth mentioning.
Okay.
They might encounter resistance from traditionalists who are skeptical of new technology
Okay.
or hesitant to embrace change.
That makes sense. Some people might view digital preservation as less authentic
Right.
or worry that it will replace traditional methods of preserving cultural heritage.
Exactly.
Mm.
PART might need to address these concerns
Right.
and educate the public about the value and importance of their work.
Yeah.
They need to communicate effectively
Mm-hmm.
and build relationships with diverse stakeholders
Right.
to ensure their work is embraced and supported.
It sounds like they need to be good at storytelling, not just about Slovakia's past,
Yeah.
but also about their own mission and vision for the future of cultural heritage preservation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They need to make a compelling case for why their work matters and how it benefits both present and future generations.
It's about finding a balance between honoring the past and embracing the future.
Exactly. And they seem to be doing a great job of navigating that balance.
I'm also curious about the specific steps PART is taking to make their work inclusive.
Oh.
They talk about their commitment to accessibility,
Mm.
but what does that look like in practice?
They've implemented a variety of strategies,
Okay.
both online and offline,
Yeah.
to ensure their work is accessible to people with disabilities.
Can you give us some specific examples?
Of course.
Okay.
For their digital reconstructions, they've incorporated features like audio descriptions
Okay.
for people with visual impairments
Yeah.
and keyboard navigation for those who have difficulty using a mouse.
Okay.
They've also made their website accessible to people with a variety of disabilities, ensuring it meets international accessibility standards.
That's fantastic. It sounds like they've really thought carefully about how to make their work accessible to everyone.
They have, and they're not just focusing on online accessibility.
Okay.
They've also made efforts to ensure their physical spaces are accessible to people with disabilities.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sure, when they host events or workshops, they make sure the venues are wheelchair accessible
Mm-hmm.
and provide assistive listening devices
Okay.
for people with hearing impairments.
Right.
They also offer materials in alternative formats,
Yeah.
such as large print or braille
Right.
for people with visual impairments.
It's impressive that they're paying attention to both physical and digital accessibility.
Yeah,
It shows a genuine commitment to inclusion.
exactly.
Yeah.
They're recognizing that cultural heritage belongs to everyone
Mm-hmm.
and that everyone should have the opportunity to experience and enjoy it.
Now, we've discussed how PART relies heavily on partnerships.
Right.
Can you tell us more about the different types of partnerships they seek out?
They mention seeking out partnerships that provide long-term support for their projects.
Okay.
These are likely relationships with foundations
Mm-hmm.
or government agencies that offer grants or funding over an extended period.
Right.
This kind of stability is essential for any nonprofit organization.
That makes sense. But they also mentioned something about partnerships that benefit their partners' customers.
Right.
That's a bit more unusual, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can you give us an example of how that might work?
Imagine a local tourism company
Okay.
that offers guided tours of historical sites in Slovakia.
Mm-hmm.
They could partner with PART
Okay.
to incorporate PART's digital reconstructions
Okay.
and event sound designs into their tours.
Mhm.
This would enhance the tour experience for their customers,
Right.
giving them a richer and more immersive understanding of the sites they're visiting.
That's a great example. It's a
Yeah.
win-win situation.
Yeah.
The tourism company gets to offer a more unique and engaging product, and PART gets to reach a wider audience with their work.
Exactly. And PART also mentions seeking out partnerships that help them offer top-notch solutions
Okay.
and improve their partners' standing in the market.
What kind of partners are we talking about here?
These could be technology companies or research institutions that have expertise in areas like 3D modeling, digital archiving, or sound design.
So PART is looking to collaborate with experts in their field to enhance their capabilities and create even more innovative projects.
Right. By working with partners who have cutting-edge skills and knowledge, PART can push the boundaries of what's possible in terms of cultural heritage preservation.
It sounds like they're really strategic about their partnerships,
Mm.
choosing collaborators who align with their mission and can help them achieve their goals more effectively.
Absolutely.
All right.
They're approaching partnerships with a clear vision
Right.
and a willingness to collaborate,
Mm-hmm.
which is essential for success in today's interconnected world.
It's a reminder that we can achieve more when we work together than we can alone.
And PART is a shining example of how collaborative efforts can lead to positive social change.
Right.
They're not just preserving the past, they're shaping the future of cultural heritage preservation through innovation, inclusivity, and community engagement.
It's truly inspiring work. Welcome back to our deep dive into PART Creative Nisbola.
Yeah.
We've uncovered so much about this dynamic organization.
We have.
What stands out to you the most about their work?
Well, one of the most impressive aspects of PART Creative is their commitment to inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're going above and beyond to ensure that everyone,
Right.
regardless of their background or abilities,
Right.
can experience and appreciate Slovakian culture and heritage.
Can you remind us of some of the ways they're making their work accessible?
Well, we talked about their virtual tour of Frota's Castle,
Yeah.
which allows people with mobility impairments to explore a site that would otherwise be inaccessible to them.
Right.
They've also incorporated features like audio descriptions
Okay.
and keyboard navigation into the digital reconstructions,
Right.
making them usable for people with visual or motor impairments.
And they're not just thinking about online accessibility, right?
Right. They're equally committed to making their physical spaces and events accessible.
Okay.
They ensure venues are wheelchair-friendly,
Mm-hmm.
provide assistive listening devices,
Right.
and offer materials in alternative formats like Braille.
It's really refreshing to see an organization so dedicated to making cultural heritage truly inclusive.
It is, and it aligns perfectly with their overall mission to benefit society.
Yeah.
I mean, they seem to understand that a healthy and vibrant community is one where everyone feels valued and included.
I'm also struck by their innovative use of technology. They're not just preserving the past in a static way.
Right.
They're finding creative ways to bring it to life for modern audiences.
Absolutely. Their 3D reconstructions and event sound designs are fantastic examples of how technology can be used to create immersive and engaging experiences that connect people with history in new ways.
And they're not just relying on technology alone. They're blending it with traditional methods of storytelling and cultural preservation.
Right.
They're collecting oral histories.
Yeah. Transcribing old manuscripts and incorporating these narratives into their digital projects.
It's a really effective approach. By combining the old with the new, they're creating something that's both authentic and engaging.
I'm really curious about the people behind PART. Like, what can you tell us about their motivations?
Sure.
What drives their passion?
I think it's a deep love for Slovakia.
Okay.
And a desire to share its rich culture and heritage with the world. I mean, they're clearly proud of their country's history.
Right.
And want to ensure it's preserved for future generations.
And they're not just focused on the past.
Right.
They're also thinking about how to make cultural heritage relevant to people's lives today.
Exactly. They're using their work to foster a sense of community, promote inclusivity, and inspire creativity.
Right.
They see cultural heritage as a living, breathing part of society.
Right.
Not just something to be locked away in a museum.
But now we've talked about their successes.
But let's be realistic. Every organization faces challenges.
Right.
What are some of the hurdles PART might encounter as they continue their work?
One ongoing challenge, as we mentioned earlier, is securing sustainable funding.
Right.
Relying on donations and grants can be unpredictable.
Yeah.
And the competition for these resources is fierce.
And as a relatively small organization in a country with a developing philanthropic culture, they might struggle to attract the level of support they need to fully realize their ambitious vision.
Right. And even with adequate funding, they'll need to continually adapt and innovate to keep pace with the ever-changing technological landscape.
Right.
They'll need to invest in staff training, equipment upgrades, and new software to ensure their work remains cutting edge.
And they might also face pushback from people who are resistant to new technologies or who prefer more traditional approaches to cultural heritage preservation.
Right.
PART will need to be skilled communicators to explain the value of their work and build bridges with those who might be skeptical.
Absolutely. They'll need to be adept at navigating these various challenges and finding creative solutions to overcome obstacles.
Despite the challenges, it seems like PART has a lot of things working in their favor.
They do.
They're passionate, innovative, and committed to making a positive impact. They've built strong partnerships, and their work is clearly resonating with their community.
They are a great example of how even a small organization can make a big difference when they have a clear vision, a strong team, and a willingness to embrace new ideas.
And their story is inspiring.
It is.
It shows that cultural heritage is not just something to be preserved, but it's something to be celebrated, shared, and reimagined for future generations.
It's about keeping traditions alive.
Right.
While also finding new and innovative ways to connect people with their past.
PART has given us a lot to think about. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a few final thoughts.
Okay.
I think it's important to remember that cultural heritage is not just about grand historical events or famous landmarks.
Yeah, it's also about the everyday lives of ordinary people.
Yeah.
The stories they tell, the traditions they practice, and the values they hold dear.
It's about the fabric of our communities, the things that make us who we are.
Exactly. And PART has shown us that preserving this heritage is not just the responsibility of museums or institutions. It's something we can all participate in.
So, dear listener, we encourage you to explore the cultural heritage in your own community. What stories are waiting to be told? What traditions are at risk of being lost? What can you do to help preserve and share the richness of your own cultural background?
Remember, PART has shown us that even small actions can have a big impact. So get involved, be creative, and help keep the flame of cultural heritage burning bright for generations to come.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of PART Creative Nispolak.
Yes.
We hope you've been inspired by their story and are ready to explore the cultural treasures in your own backyard.